One of my favorite new features of Photoshop CS5 is the ability to create unique and custom workspaces. And Photoshop has a lot of preset defined workspaces as well. So whether you're designing or painting or you're working in 3D or photography, you can come up to the application bar and there is the workspace switcher icons here. We default to the essentials here in Photoshop, which consist of panels such as mini bridge, your history panel, color swatches, layers, channels. And if we switch to design, we'll notice that those panels change. There's the panels for painting. We'll see we have some brush presets. Here's photography, and if we're working with 3D or we're working with motion, there's our animation palette. I'll go back up to the essentials, and what I want to do is customize this essentials workspace and create my own custom workspace. So the first thing that I want to do here in my panels is click on this double arrow icon to collapse these down to icons so they're no longer expanded. Well, notice here that I also have two icons, one for mini bridge, which is a must-have for me anyway, and then the history panel. So I'm going to grab this at the dotted title bar there. You'll notice as I slide it that I get this blue line, and this is going to show me I can either drop it into the group, drop it down below that group, and as I do that and let go, we'll see that it snaps to become part of that group. I'm going to go ahead and do that with my history as well, but you'll notice I didn't actually drop it in that particular group. If I want it in that group, I want that group to highlight, and then I'll drop it in there. So now these panels are docked off to the side, and one of the most important aspects, if you're a designer, if I'm sure you're aware, if you're working with high resolution images or maybe you're working with a particular tool, you need to maximize how much real estate you're working within. It's always efficient to have as much space as possible. Photoshop CS5 has converted everything to panels with icons. So here we can see that we have an icon for color, an icon for swatches, styles, etc. And I may not be familiar with those icons right off of the bat, so it may be good for me to have this stretched out a little bit. But as I become familiar with Photoshop, I can drag the outside node of this and slide it in, and now they just become icons. Now, even if I'm not still familiar with what each of these icons are, if I hover my mouse over them, I will get a little tooltip that tells me what those icons are. So I don't always need that expanded. I'm going to go ahead and expand it just for the sake of this training. And actually what I'm going to do is open up all those windows and expand them so that they come out, and then minimize them. So I want to have another window to further customize this workspace. And I've installed an extension called Adobe Watermark. And I'm just going to add that to my list of panels here. So it's down there at the bottom. I can always apply a watermark to my image. So that's always open. So I'm starting to customize this workspace to meet my needs. I'll go ahead and reduce those down to icons. Now what I want to do is come up to the workspace switcher, expand the flyout menu, and I'm going to choose new workspace. And I'm going to call this my custom. Now if I want to, I could specify keyboard shortcuts and menu items for these panels, but I'm not going to do that because I have the workspace switcher here that I'm just going to use, which I find convenient. I'm going to click Save, and there's my custom. So I can switch between essentials, and here I'll just reset the essentials workspace so it's back to its default. Here's my custom. There's my essentials. So now I'll default to my custom workspace. Now, even though I've taken the liberty and I've minimized my panels and I've got my tools panel off here to the left and I've got my control bar up at the top, I may still yet want to maximize my real estate here on my screen to take advantage of it. One trick that I do is I hit the Tab key on my keyboard to hide all of those. Now my tools are hidden, my panels are hidden, as well as my control panel. Now, for a lot of people that may have been using Photoshop for some time, I don't know, this may freak you out. But not to worry. Your tools or your panels never really went away. If you hover your mouse over to the left-hand side where your tool panel normally would be, you'll see that they just magically appear out of the blue. That's because they never really go away. They're part of that docked interface. And if I go over to the left-hand side, we'll see that my tool or my panel icons appear as well. But you'll notice if I go up to the top, my control panel does not appear here. And that's just why it doesn't do that. I really don't know. It's a thing with Adobe. But to bring that up, just hit the tab key if you really need it. Remember the main function of this control bar. You often hear me refer to it as a panel, but it's a control bar, is that it serves unique functions with each of the tools or various tools within the tools panel. So you don't necessarily need it, although it does have a lot of helpful features to it, so I tend to use it quite a bit. So now we know that we can customize these panels, we can size them, resize them, dock them as groups. But what happens when we bring these out of the side here, and then perhaps drag it, no, let me expand it, back to that area? You'll notice I'm just going to snap it in there. And now if I hit the tab key and I come back to bring those panels up, you'll notice they're not going to appear. It's important that if you want to take advantage of that functionality, that you actually dock your panels rather than snapping to that area. Otherwise, that's just one of the problems that you're going to run into there. So now we know how to customize Photoshop to meet our needs within our work area. If the panels that you maybe you want to add more panels here, you can do just like I did. Go under the Windows menu, bring up any panel you want to, dock it there, define your own custom workspace, and now you're on the road to being as efficient as you can.